All right, everybody, I am live. I don't know who's in the house and who's waiting to see us and who's waiting to talk with us. It is 6:30 on the dot. So tonight was a little bit interesting. Originally, I was going to have Redbeard come on and Chris, his name's Chris, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I would just slaughter it. He was going to come on and talk about music, and me and Thrashpondo and I were going to talk about music, but he ended up needing to reschedule. So you'll get two live streams to this week, plus what I'm going to be on with Dave, hopefully on Wednesday, if he'll be gracious enough to have me back. And so I talked to Thrashpondo, and we decided together to kind of talk about TV shows and movies that were really bad, but that we liked. So let's see, we got one player in the house now, but I don't mind coming on. All right, John Collins says, hello, Ian. Hello, Mr. Collins. How are you? And Mr. 79 Man says, hi, Ian. Just letting everybody know that I originally was going to do something with Redbeard, but he had to cancel, and so we decided to do this video. However, I do have one question. We're going to talk about movies and TV shows that were really bad in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but we liked them anyway. But here's the deal. I need some suggestions as far as tiers. I just added a tier over on Patreon. So I've got a tip jar, and now I've got my cornflake tier. And with the cornflake club tier, what you get on the cornflake club tier is you get early access to all the videos except for the live stream. So the videos and the podcast, except for the live stream, because it's difficult to do live stream. So anyway, the live streams for everybody for the most part. So I need to know, like, what would be good, like tier 2 and tier 3. I'd like to do 3 tiers. I'd like to do a tip jar just to say, hey, thanks. Then I'd like to do a cornflake club, then kind of, I don't know, maybe a honeycomb hideout, kind of sugar cereal, and then my favorite cereal club, which I haven't decided on. And then we talked about what those favorite cereals would be. On one of those, I'd like to do an exclusive live stream with everybody. So just for people who are on that one of those tiers, but I need some suggestions. So be thinking about what you think's good ideas for tier 2 and tier 3. So we've got tier 1 already, or tier 3, depending on how you count it. And tier 3 is the cornflake club, and that is going to be just, you get early releases for $5 for supporting us for $5, 24 hours in advance, exclusive, not exclusive, but early content that nobody else can see. So I've got Thrashpondo with me. I'm going to bring him on in a second. And today's topic, and of course, as always, we're going to let you drive it. Hi, sunny California, praying hands. All right, James. Thank you, James 328. But we're going to let you drive the discussion as well. But believe me, I'm a big enough blabbermouth that I can kind of keep talking on my own for quite a while. And me and Thrashpondo Ponds together, we can talk about this for a long time, but you're always welcome to chime in and give us some suggestions. But here's the topic: TV shows that were really bad and movies that were really bad, but we liked them anyway. And Thrashpondo is going to come on here. How you doing, buddy?
Never better. How's it going with you, ENC?
It's going really good. Totally excited. So James says he's
Ontario, Canada.
Yes,
representing.
Ontario, Canada, representing. Awesome. All right. So TV shows and movies that you would like, that were bad movies but you liked. All right. Let's see. Got a couple of these going here. 4 tiers, tip jar, and 3 levels. Yes. So 4 tiers, a tip jar, and 3. Yes, that's what I was thinking of doing. So there'll actually be 3 tiers and then just a thank you tip jar kind of a thing. And then, hey, Thrash, Mr. 79 Man says, let's get into this. What's some cheesy, terrible TV shows or movies that you liked that maybe you were even embarrassed to tell your friends at school you watched it and you enjoyed it?
Well, I was thinking about this like all day. My earliest memory as a child, I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and my dad, who worked mega hours, but he always had Saturdays free, and he'd sleep in. I'd watch cartoons, and then he'd wake up and he'd watch these old terrible movies on Creature Feature. So I kind of grew up with really, really bad movies. The Corman classics, some of the old Hammer films, and that type of thing. So I'm sort of an aficionado of horrible films. In fact, I actually saw one last night. One of my all-time favorites, a Roger Corman classic, It's the Day the World Ended. I actually refer to it in one of my Two for Tuesdays.
Okay.
Ever see this one? It's a classic.
Is that the metal guy that comes from outer space?
No,
that
no,
that?
no, it's post World War III.
Okay.
This patriarch dude takes his daughter and he builds an estate out in the hills, which he thinks will be safe from the radiation after the war. Her fiance is supposed to come join him, but he doesn't make it. But a bunch of other people do. Guy who played Mannix is the bad guy. Richard Denning, who did a bunch of old schlock in the 50s and 60s. He was in it. And it has possibly the most ridiculous looking monster of all time. It basically looks like a big gorilla with antenna.
Oh,
And it's supposed to be this mutant. And he comes and tries to. You're never really sure why he comes.
what
The
year was this? What year was this?
59, I want to say,
Oh,
sometime
okay.
around then. This is an
All right.
oldie, but a goodie.
This is old one,
And it's
but
so terrible, but it's wonderful. It's like I love it, and every now and then I break it out. It makes a great double feature. Well, pretty much any of the other horror movies, like it conquered the
yeah.
world, that type of thing. So yeah, so old horror movies is sort of a thing for me. Well, I mean, what could be more fun than getting a bunch of your friends together and like watching an old bad movie and just making fun
Yeah.
of it?
Yeah, those old monster movies are somewhat, yeah, they're super campy. And I did love those old monster movies. They were a lot of fun.
Oh,
James 328 says, anything bad I didn't watch. I walked out of
The Matrix
the
in the
Matrix.
theater. In
Oh,
the theater,
really?
you walked out on it.
Well,
Well, yeah, I know. I kind of
I
like the Matrix too.
I like the Matrix, but obviously, if you think it's bad and you don't want to stay there, that's fine. The idea here is like it's like one of those shows that everybody else thought was bad, but for some reason you liked. So I don't, I like yeah, I've occasionally walked out of a theater, not too often, but it's happened. But I wouldn't walk on anything I like. So what's something that everybody else didn't like but you liked it? That's the kind of the theme. And then John Collins writes the Super
Super
Dave
Dave cartoon.
cartoon. I don't remember this one.
I remember it briefly. I remember Super Dave. He was sort of the evil Knievel archetype. And I'm trying to
Oh,
remember he was on a show, and he was sort of like this comic. Every week he would do a new stunt, and something tragic would happen. And he briefly had his own cartoon. We're going back a little bit, aren't we, Johnny? Oh, by the way,
yeah.
John Collins, there's a drink named after you, by the way. I'm sure you already knew this. I just wanted to read that to the record. But
All
um,
right. Well, one of the movies that I really enjoyed so look, when I was young, it was really difficult for me to think movies were bad. I mean, I was just entertained by anything. And then when I got older, I realized they were bad. And here's one movie that I really enjoyed watching in the theater. But then I totally realized that other people didn't like it and had all kinds of bad reviews. And that was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Do you remember that one? Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I
Kevin
love
Costner.
that. I love that in the show. Kevin Costner's made some really bad shows. Some bad shows that I think are bad, but also some shows that are bad that I really do like. He's kind of the king of that. I yeah, the Prince of Thieves. I loved that show. I walked out talking about it. and then I felt so stupid because all my friends started bagging on it and started saying stuff that like I should have I should have known. I should have like he can't do an English accent, or he'd do it from time to time. He'd fade in and fade out. A friend of mine said he liked everything but Kevin Costner in the movie. Like the whole movie was great except Kevin Costner. All right, we're getting up high here. Let's see. Let's read a couple of these.
Mr. 79 Man says, I liked the Godzilla movies. They weren't even in English. And no, they weren't. You can find them, the American dubs. I actually prefer them, if I'm up for it. I prefer them with the subtitles. Believe it or not only does it make more sense in their original language, they alter the content substantially for the Americans. But again, those Godzilla movies, they're so much fun. And they do range from, I think, actually quite good to pretty schlocky. I actually saw one in the theaters when I was very little. I saw Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, which might just be the hokiest.
Well, Godzilla is one of the primary ones that come on Mystery Science Theater. They do a lot of those, and I love the Mystery Science Theater. John Collins writes Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, yes.
Yes, terrible movie. I did a video on Garbage Pail Kids. I think it was 5 things you need to know. No, I did the Garbage Pail Kids cards, and then I talked about the movie to a degree. Yeah. That was a horrible movie. Absolutely horrible. It ruined people's careers, actually. It really did. People had a hard time after that movie finding work. Sean Astin's brother is in it, I think. Sean Astin, that's his name, right? The guy who plays Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings. His brother is the star of the show. Movie. All right, let's see here. I used to watch.
Go ahead. All right. James 328 says, I used to watch dubbed Chinese martial arts movies. Those were terrible, and I loved them. There was something on in my area called Kung Fu Theater. It actually aired right after Son of Svengoolie. I'm going way back now. But every Saturday, I had to watch me some good old Hong Kong gangster martial arts films, and the dubbing was so terrible. I saw one once, and this is such a riot. There was an argument going on between a triad and Italian Godfather, and they have an interpreter in between them, and for some reason they dubbed both parts. So the guy is saying in Chinese, "Tell the Godfather this," and and then the Godfather says in what's supposed to be Italian, "Well, you tell him that," and they're both speaking English, so he's translating English into English.
Yes.
Wow, they should have at least left the Italian dude in Italian so this would have made sense. But you tell him I'm going to kill him. He's going to kill you. I'm going to kill him first. He's going to kill you first. And it went on, and I'm just like, is it just me or is this insipid?
Right.
But they were great.
I loved martial arts movies growing up, doing martial arts. So martial arts movies was my jam. Any martial arts movie I could get my hands on. Loved them. I loved all the Bruce Lee movies. All of them were dubbed except for the last one. And so, great shows. And I even like the more cheesy ones.
Mr. 79 Man says, I liked Howard the Duck. Funny you should mention that. That's what it is, isn't it?
That actually, I put it up there on the thing, but no, I did not like it. That was one of them that I let me say this. I did like it when it first came out. Like, I didn't know. I was just a kid. I'm like, oh, Howard the Duck, cool. Then I got older and I watched it again, and it didn't hold up too well. So it's kind of one of those in the middle for me kind of thing. So like the Kevin Costner, like when I mentioned the Kevin Costner Robin Hood one, I can still enjoy that one actually quite a bit. Even though all my friends didn't enjoy it and I felt sheepish about it, I could enjoy it. All right.
James 328 says, Golden Harvest movies.
Yes.
I'm not familiar.
They're the old Kung Fu Chinese classic movies.
Oh,
there was Golden Harvest, and there was another one that did all the old-timey classic. So he says that's a Tom Collins, by the way.
Oh, no. John, a Tom Collins is gin. A John Collins is the same drink, substitute whiskey. And the way I always kept those straight is, in all the old war movies, the English soldiers are called Tommies, and gin, of course, is an English drink, and the Americans are when Johnny comes marching home, and they use good old fashioned American whiskey, and that's how I kept the two drinks similar,
Ah,
separated. So yeah, so learn
all
something new every
right.
day. Oh, Cindy D, hello to all, and hello to you.
Hello,
Hello,
Cindy. We're talking
Cindy.
about
Yes,
bad movies that we
hello.
that we really liked. Um, Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
I
Yes.
loved Spaceballs. I don't know about you. If
Hello,
you, I
my
mean,
honey. Hello, my baby. The scene with John Hurt, he's like, "Oh, not again." It's one of the
I
funniest scenes in cinema history, I think. And
yeah, I haven't watched that once like as an adult, so only clips of it. But I don't know. I don't know if that's. I mean, I don't know if it would hold up. But I don't remember. I don't remember any of my friends disliking that. I think we all loved it. We all loved that show. So whether it's a bad movie, I mean, I don't know. I can't say. I didn't hate it, and none of my friends hated it, but maybe adults did at the time, or maybe older kids. Oh, Cindy D already says hello, all. He's giving me some laughs here, and Jimmy C says hi,
hello to
guys.
you. Hello to you, Jim.
Hello. All right. I never saw that one. And Cindy D, Hong Kong Fooey, we loved you. Yes, we did. Hong Kong Fooey was great. I loved that show. I loved how he jumped into the
The
uh,
Flea-mobile.
well, he jumped into the filing cabinet, and then he came
Oh
out as
yeah,
Hong Kong Fooey. That was great. And he was a dog who had a sidekick cat.
cat.
Can't get any better than that. I
And he
mean,
was voiced by yeah.
reaching
And
across the aisle there. Reaching across the aisle.
and Scatman Crothers did the voice, and he was just amazing. He was wonderful. He had that wonderful voice. So, oh, John Cohn says, "Well, I never knew that. Thanks for letting me know. You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome." Bartenders know these little things like that. And James 328 says Spaceballs was funny. Yeah, it was. It certainly had its moments. It was my biggest problem with Spaceballs is I think if it had come out like a few years earlier, because it came out in '87, I want to say. Star Wars was 10 years old. The jokes had pretty much been beaten to death by that point. That's probably why it didn't do real well in the box office, but it certainly had its moments, particularly that cantina scene. That was great.
Yeah, it was pretty
And yes,
funny.
and yes, James 328, it was a spoof on Star Wars. John Collins asks, Thrush, will you ever do live streams on your channel? Possibly. I have to upgrade my technology quite a bit. I'm still kind of in the novice stage. My mentors have helped me quite a bit. Mr. Ian being the biggest one, and of course Dave Sundstrom has helped me immeasurably. But I think I'm a little. I got a ways to go before I'm up to my first live stream. So for right now, I'll just ride coattails on Ian's.
Let's
Mr.
see.
39, the Idol Maker with the late Ray Sharkey and Peter Gallagher.
Never
Not
saw
familiar
it.
with that one. Yeah, not
Not familiar
familiar with
with
that
it.
one. Hmm.
Well, what about some TV shows? I mean, here, let me just throw a few out there. All right. Who's the Boss? Was that not the most terrible show yet? I loved it. I mean, I thought that even at the time, I kind of knew that it was campy, but I loved that show. I loved Who's the Boss. I thought it was a little weird. Now, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but Who's the Boss made history in that where we steal a lot of shows from England. England stole that one from us, and they have
Oh,
their own version, or they had their own version of Who's the Boss, and it's called The Upper Hand. The Upper
huh.
Hand in England, just so you know, throwing a little knowledge your way. Go
Good
ahead and
one,
read
good
that
one.
for us.
Oh, Mr. John Collins says, Thrash, I always try to get people to make a grasshopper, and they never seem to know how to make it. It's so funny you mention that because that's the old joke. Grasshopper walks into a bar, and the bartender says, I have a drink named after you. And the grasshopper says, you have a drink named Irving?
I think that was on wasn't that on one of your specials, on one of your videos?
Not yet, but it will be.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I
I
enjoyed
enjoyed Small Wonder.
I enjoyed Small Wonder as well. I thought it was a great show, and the myth behind Small Wonder. There's a lot of these music myths out there, and one of the myths behind Small Wonder is that the boy who plays the lead character, the young boy, is Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. Um, it's not true,
Well,
and
it's a good urban
and
legend.
yeah, neither is I think I think there was one that was Alice Cooper was Eddie Haskell. I don't know if you remember that one or not.
I did. I forgot now, but I do remember that one.
And the one I really enjoy is that Marilyn Manson was Arnold on not on Small Wonder, not Arnold, but the guy who plays the friend with the glasses. That he grew up to be Marilyn Manson. No, Marilyn Manson was Brian Warner is his real name. I enjoyed Small Wonder too. I watched it and regretted that now. I don't know which one you're talking about, but we I think we have all those skeletons in our closet. Go ahead, Thrash.
Cindy D says Tony Danza was great. The chemistry between him and Judith Light was great. They should have gotten married. That would have been very, very cool. And I also like the grandmother. I thought she just sort of stole the show, by the way. And there was great chemistry between all of them. And yes, that would have been a good way to end the series, is to have the two of them get married.
Did
Yes,
they not? Did they get together though? I thought they did, or I don't know. Look, maybe I'm only familiar with the first. I haven't gone back and watched it or rewatched it since it's really been on, other than maybe a few episodes. But I thought that they had gotten together, but maybe they just didn't ever get married. I don't know.
Right. I haven't watched it in 30 years, so I'm not 100% either. Oh, and I love the old urban legend that Pablo Escobar had been in the first incarnation of Menudo. And that that also isn't true. But wouldn't that be a great urban legend if Pablo Escobar
Menudo? Menudo. I got a comment on this. Alf was second rate to me. Yes, Alf was. But did you like Alf? That's the question that's before us. Did you like it? I know Alf was one of those shows that was really second rate. It really was. They had actually a lot of trouble filming Alf. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it was like a big deal to film Alf because they had to actually make a stage under the house for the guy to do the puppeteering. So it was a big deal. I thought it was a little campy. You know, I mean, he looks campy, and it's an alien. It's a don't fit into the culture show. He's going to eat the cat kind of thing. But I was young enough when it came on that I did enjoy it, and I really enjoy comedy, so it makes a big difference to me. All right, where are we? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's see here.
Mr. 79 Man says Paul was the character. Paul was the one who the urban legend went on to become Marilyn Manson. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Who's the boss?
James 328. Who's the boss? Regret.
I get it. That was probably one of the more campy ones. I don't know if you're thinking if Wonder Years was worse or was Who's the Boss worse. No, I'm not sure.
It just dawned on me. You had said, I knew what you meant. You said Small Wonder. You meant the Wonder Years.
Oh, yes. No, I meant Who's the Boss. I mean, sorry, Who's the Boss or the Wonder Years? Which one was worse, do you think?
Oh, but I think the friend that you were talking about. Remember you said the friend with the glasses?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's in Small Wonder. You're talking about the Wonder Years. Yes. Oh, no. Okay. So look, no. In the Wonder Years, the friend goes on to be, the legend is he goes on to be Marilyn Manson. In the robot one, the lead character, Small Wonder, I'm getting myself confused here. The lead character supposedly goes on to be Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. So they're both. Wonder Years.
Yes.
Now Wonder Years was one of those stuff. This is interesting for me because Wonder Years is one of those opposite shows. It's one of the shows that everybody loved, and it grinded on me pretty badly. Even as a kid, it grinded on me. I did like it. I thought it was funny, but I just thought it was too preachy for me. It's just like, learn the value of a friend, learn the value of $1, learn the value of hard work, learn the value that tradition's good, learn the value. I mean, it's just like every episode. It's like, come on. But I know it's a good movie or the good television show was great, but it But that's an opposite one for me. That was one everybody loved and I didn't like, even kind of when it was out.
It was about as subtle as the Fourth Panzer Army. John Collins says, go ahead.
I was going to say that was, sorry, I'll let you read that in a second. That was a big deal back then. It turned into a big deal. I mean, it turned into this preachy kind of thing, which is good. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's bad or anything, but this gets overdone. Go ahead.
John Collins goes on to say, Judith Light was good looking back then on Who's the Boss. I really got to put these glasses back on, but yes, she sure was, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she was a knockout. But I was more Alyssa Milano's age, so I was really attracted to Alyssa Milano, and we kind of grew up. I think we might even be almost the same age, me and Alyssa Milano, maybe a year apart or something like that. So when she started getting older, I started getting very interested. So it didn't matter to me if it was cheesy. I was very interested in the show. I like Wings. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I keep feeling like I'm stepping on your toes. But yeah, I kind of like Wings too, by the way. In fact, of course, I live on Cape Cod. So, Nantucket Air, it's actually based loosely on an airline that my uncle actually knew the gentleman who owned it. Loosely. So yeah, but Wings was a good show. I enjoyed that as well.
I enjoyed it. I didn't get to become a diehard fan of it. I don't know if it was cheesy or not. I have no idea. If people didn't like it for some reason, I thought every episode that I watched, I thought it was great. It's one that I actually am thinking of getting around to watching again, or watching at really almost for the first time, because I only saw episodes here and there in the 90s. But the redheaded girl who was in Wings was married to, John Ritter, and they were and it was really sad when John Ritter passed away for her. They were very much in love couple. Wings was good. Cindy D, yes, they were a couple, never got married. Oh,
Who's the boss?
Thank you, Cindy. Really appreciate that. All right, let's see. I don't want to miss anything here. There we go. All right, gotta pull that up for there. Go ahead, read them.
Oh, Denny Staten. Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Danny.
Denny. Glasses again. I get a lot of glasses. I keep taking them off, but the grandmother on Who's the Boss was on Soap. Also loved her. Yes, she was on Soap. And Benson, too. Yeah. Which, of course, was a spin-off of Soap. But, yeah, she was great. Yeah, she was married to the philanderer dude. I can't remember his shtick. But, no, yeah, she was wonderful.
And Soap, what a wonderful show that was.
It really was.
One of those shows that was a breakthrough show. Soap was awesome.
I remember I had got my own little TV for my room, and I used to put it on but turn the volume down very, very, very low because my mother didn't want me watching it. It was a little too adult for a 12-year-old when it was first on.
Yeah, it was very adult, yes.
Mr. 79 Man says Alf was great. Yes, he sure was. I loved Alf.
We're going to get into an argument here because Cindy D says, no, I hated Alf.
I can certainly see why somebody would. It was, I liked it myself because it was very sarcastic. My mother, actually, this is a quote from my mom. She said, you like the show because you are Alf. He was always very snappy and sarcastic. And so, but I can certainly see why people wouldn't like Alf.
Yeah, it wasn't, I watched Alf, but it wasn't in super heavy rotation. It wasn't one of those shows that I was home for, okay? It wasn't like Cheers or Family Ties. But I didn't hate it. When I watched it, I didn't hate it. But again, I was young, and I did like that kind of sarcastic humor. Really good stuff. Really good sarcastic humor. But I can see why people didn't like it. All right, James328 says, XGF watched Alf. No thanks. All right, go ahead, read that for us.
John Collins. I enjoyed Alf in the first couple of years when it was more adult in nature. It did get more insipid as it went on, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if they were getting a younger audience and tried to cater to that, or what their situation was. Probably because that was around the time that the Saturday morning cartoon came out, and they were probably trying to play one off each other.
Well, it would have been silly for them not to engineer it towards children at some point. I mean, basically, you've got a cell toy there, and and that would have just been, it would have been silly to not do that. But again, yeah, if it's more adult, adults are going to like it more. If it's more for kids, kids are going to like it more. And the companies behind it are going to go, well, who can we make more money off of? That's what they're going to, that's the only thing they're thinking of. I don't know if they're really thinking, am I creating a good piece of art here or something long lasting, or if I'm just, writing junk films so I can sell to children. Didn't watch the Wonder Years. I get it. I understand, James. Cindy D, the brother on Wings had the real
chemistry. Steve Weber and Tim Daly. Yeah, they really were convincing as a couple of siblings. Mr. 79 Man, I like Charles in Charge. Can anyone explain, how does he go from one family to the other? Does he lose one job and have to go to another family? I stopped watching before the end of one season, and when I picked up in the next season, he had a completely different family, and I was wondering if that was ever spoken to.
They went from a dark-haired family to a blonde-haired family, right? Like in one season. I don't know. Weird. I really don't know. And Willie Ames was in that show.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
What's interesting to me is I watched Charles in Charge. You didn't have DVD or TiVo or anything like that. I only watched Charles in Charge when it was the blonde family, and then Charles in Charge came on, and it was the dark-haired family, and I was just like, what in the world is going on? I don't know if they ever explained that or not. Or if it was just, hey, one family wasn't going to work out. But yeah, I know that they did that. I know that they do that a few times. They did that in Who's the Boss, and they did that in Family, where they didn't explain things. Like somebody was pregnant, and the next thing you know, that was just written right out of the script. There's no follow-up. There was nothing. There's no explanation. All right.
Agreeing with Cindy. Cindy's agreeing with James. James agreeing with Cindy. Everyone's so in agreement. Cindy D says, It's a Living was good, bad, too. I vaguely remember It's a Living, and it also had a similar situation where between one season and the next, they changed a lot of the cast members. But I do remember thinking it was a pretty funny show.
I don't even know that show, actually. Never even heard of it. It's a Living.
It's about these 4 or 5 waitresses in a very upscale sort of penthouse restaurant in, I want to say New York, but I'm not entirely sure which city. And basically the little dramas that they have in their personal life while serving on these very hoity-toity people. And the best character was the sort of skeevy piano player who I believe was only in the first season and they got rid of him. But I do remember the show had its moments.
Let's see. Alyssa was nice. She was my age. Yeah, so about the same age. But I do have to say, yeah, even though Alyssa was my age, I'm not taking anything away from the girl who played the mother on the show. Yeah, she was hot. I mean, really. I mean, she was an attractive gal. She actually still is a fairly attractive gal. And Milano is a Satanist now. Now,
be nice.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, is she actually doing that now? I mean, she might be. I don't know.
I think he's being sarcastic. She's become very political lately, and tends to be, I don't want to say caustic, but of the more angry political side.
Yeah,
so I think that might be a little bit of a joke. But he goes on to say.
That's why you regret.
I see.
That's why he regrets watching it. All right, Cindy D says, Crystal. Oh, you go ahead and read it.
Crystal Bernard was used to playing waitresses. She did it on both Wings and It's a Living. You raise a fantastic point. She did.
Yeah.
That you mentioned. I had completely never put 2 and 2 together to make 5.
You need to go back to school.
So I keep saying. Danny Staten says soap was awesome every time, but did that invisible thing I popped?
That invisible thing I popped.
Am I missing something?
I don't quite understand. Was that maybe a character in the show? Because the grandfather think he was seeing somebody or something?
Well, Richard Mulligan had a situation where he was mentally unstable and believed he was abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Met what was that guy's name? Jack Gifford? and they had all kinds of adventures. But I'm not quite sure what the question or statement was there.
Yeah.
Mr. 79 says Krista Bernard was attractive and she could sing. She had an album or two. I think country-esque genre. I believe you're right. I believe you're right. I was never huge into the country music scene, but I believe she did have the whole rockabilly thing going on, what they were called now indie music.
Yeehaw. Yeehaw. All right. Retro Crunch. Thanks for joining us. What's going on, gents? I loved Alf. Yes, I loved Alf too. Well, we were talking about that. There was a love-hate relationship, for sure. Retro Crunch. I'm glad you're in the house. I'm glad you're joining us. I actually contacted you a while back to see if you wanted to do a podcast with me. So hit me up. Go to my contact or go to my info page, and under my info page, you will find my email, and you can just hit me up there. I would love to have you on. I've been a fan of your channel, so please contact me. Loved Alf. Well, we got a mixed audience here. Some people really like Alf, and some people really do not like Alf.
Opinion is divided.
Yeah.
Thrash, did you look up? I haven't had a chance. It was on my to-do pile today, and I started researching somebody else. But I promise I will and get back to you ASAP because, well, that's what I do. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. And James328 says, Crystal was the reason I originally, I believe is what he meant, watched Wings, and who could blame you? Although Tony Shalhoub was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then Alf was like the Muppets when they were on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, he sure was. He certainly was.
Yeah. For sure. All right, so I'm going to throw this out there. We kind of got into this a little bit with the Spaceballs thing, but I'll tell you one movie that everybody thought was bad that I actually did a video on here. I did a video on Molly Ringwald, and it was a movie she was in. It was a space movie where she plays in that movie, and it was in 3D when 3D was kind of making a comeback. Do you remember that movie?
Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, wasn't it called?
Yes, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. I really did like that show when it came out. Of course, like I said, it was pretty easy to please me. Particularly when it comes to space stuff, because I was a huge fan of Star Wars and a big fan of things that kind of spun off of Star Wars. There was another show. Did you like that show or no? Did you like?
I did. I thought it was an homage to vintage science fiction, and almost like when they like try to do modern noir films and whatnot. I mean, it was hokey and schlocky, but good science fiction oftentimes is both of those things. And Michael Ironside playing the villain, and he played it so over the top. I did enjoy the film. It was part of that very brief 80s 3D renaissance where they were trying to bring 3D back again, and it didn't quite last. But I thought that was one of the better attempts.
Yeah, they had Jaws in 3D. Remember that? Like, I think it was Jaws 3. Was it 3? Not Jaws 4.
Jaws 3 was 3D. Friday the 13th Part 3 was 3D. If you made a third movie in the trilogy, that one was in 3D.
That had to be in 3D. I really enjoyed the show, but a lot of my friends did not enjoy that movie. There's also another one, and I was just actually watching it. It was super cheesy. It's about this kid who, like, these raiders are like robbing a ship, and the kid gets stuck on it and gets sucked into space with them. And they've got this guy with this kind of, I don't know. They have to do something with the eyes and ears if you're going to be an alien, right? They got to do something with your brow and your ears. But he gets stuck on the ship with the people who are robbing the ship. It's almost like a car robbery or whatever. And anyway, he's got a wealthy family, and his wealthy family really wants him back, and so they pay to have somebody come to try to get him. And he actually gets kidnapped, and people try to kidnap him to bring him back and stuff like that. It's a very super cheesy show. All right, let's see. All right. Well,
Okay.
I'll look it up. Maybe somebody else will be able to find it. It's about a kid who gets sucked up with these bandits who are robbing this spaceship. Hee Haw was good, bad. Do you remember that song where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone?
Oh.
I don't know if I don't really remember. Wasn't a huge Hee Haw fan. Did see a couple episodes,
And
but
he was gone. That was the last line in the song, if I remember that correctly. My uncles watched Hee Haw, so when I was visiting family, it was usually on. And I remember, of course, Minnie Pearl and Grandpa and those folks. But I'm not a huge fan of the show. Again, it was a very country music and never really my forte.
yeah, me neither. Me neither. But I did think it was funny. I when things were on, it was funny. Yeah, I remember that. Peter Strauss.
Peter
What
Strauss.
is? I don't know what that is. A
Peter Strauss
reference.
was the star in Adventures in Forbidden Zone, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
It
Yes.
was an early role for him. Yes.
All
Oh,
right.
328. I was a fan of sci-fi, but didn't know that one. Yeah, that was 83, was it? I think it came out.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
oh,
Trick.
Tracy, oh, Myers, hey, how you
Hi.
doing? Good
Good
to
to
see
have you
you.
over here, hanging out
And
with us.
and I remember,
Awesome.
I love the classic Doctor Who as well. And yes, and definitely thank you for joining us. Good to see you. And yes, I caught a lot of flack for being a Whovian back in the day because most of the kids in my school thought it was a silly English sci-fi show, and I loved it.
Well,
So
you had to be, I mean, you were in the geek forest if you were a Who fan. I mean, that's really, I mean, you'd gone past the Star Wars, which was kind of acceptable geek lore, and then, you go into, you go a little past that into Battlestar Galactica, a little past that into Buck Rogers, and then a little past that, then finally you're maybe into those Saturday morning ones where they have live action stuff, but then way past there is the Doctor Who crowd where they know and the what is it, Red Dwarf crowd, and they are the die hard sci-fi fans. I love yeah, they not a bit, they were the comic book sci-fi crowd that I hung out with all the time and didn't know anything because I was very I was very undercultured. Yeah, I don't know if I was a poser. You know what's interesting? I'll just kind of open this up about myself. I was I was a geek. I was more of a geek.
no,
Yeah, picked on nerd kind of a person. Wasn't good. It wasn't a good in school nerd though. But I was a little bit intertribal. Like I got along with different people. I got along with the geek. I could sit down and have a conversation with a straight A student, have a conversation with a stoner, and then have a conversation with a jock, and have a conversation with the heavy geek people. I felt more at home kind of with the heavy geek people, but that I mean that I just never, there were some elements of it that I never really got latched onto, and that was one of them, the Doctor Who. But good stuff. I mean, good stuff, right?
I actually had my photo taken with Tom Baker at a sci-fi convention. That's the level geek I am.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
true
awesome.
story. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here.
John Cohen
Uh,
says, "I love Labyrinth. Ah, dance, magic dance. Yeah, love it." And apparently the world didn't at the time. Labyrinth is an acquired taste. When I first saw it in the theaters, I'm like, "What did I just watch?" I was right at that age. I was about 17 when it came out, so I was too young to enjoy it in the sense of nostalgia, and I was too old to have a sense of whimsy. I was at the perfect age to have not liked it.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people felt that at the time because it wasn't marketed to kids, it was marketed to the young adult crowd. Huge
What's
crush
what's
on Jennifer
interesting what's interesting about that show right there, about that movie, sorry,
Connelly.
is I almost put that on my list today of movies that were disturbing, but kids were allowed to watch for some reason because the Satan element in that is just off the hook. It was scary, but I loved the show as a kid personally when it came out. I thought it was really good, and I didn't know that people didn't like it at the time. All right, go ahead.
Cindy D says, I searched the world over and thought I found true love. You met another and poof, you was gone. No one remembers that. Thank you. I haven't actually heard that actual bit in about 40 years, so thank you for refreshing my memory. James328 says, friend watched Doctor Who, but I couldn't stand it. That's a lot of people were in that same boat. I used to try to get my friends to watch it. The ones who were already watching it weren't a problem, but the new friends were like, "What the heck are you having me watch?" Ew. So yeah, no, there was a lot of negative sentiment towards Doctor Who. Trust me, I know.
I remember watching the Benny Hill show, and then I didn't really know British comedy beyond Benny Hill. Then my friends showed me some other British comedy, and I was sold. I was just like, "Oh, this is hilarious!" But I watched the Benny Hill show. I was a big fan of what came on late at night when you were up and you weren't supposed to watch what was on. So that was great. I don't know what that had to do with Doctor Who. Is that too broad? I just went right off that. I just thought, hey, I'm going to talk about Benny Hill now. Hey,
Well,
that's
English programming. Those
yes.
wacky English with their wacky shows.
English programming, right?
I'm
English
so
programming.
John Collins says, The Adventures of the Gummy Bears?
I never even heard of it. Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
The short-lived Ewoks cartoon, and that was dreadful.
Now wait, hang on. We'll hold on that. Ewoks cartoon was awful. The Ewok movies. Remember the made-for-TV movies?
Never saw.
They did three. I believe they did three made-for-TV movies. They were awful. But a cartoon that I actually enjoyed, probably not as good now, is Droids. Did you see Droids?
No.
It was a cartoon about C-3PO and R2-D2 and some of their misadventures. And it was kind of punk rock. One of their guys in there had a mohawk and like a cut off sleeve, and he was all bulked out, kind of a punk rock kind of theme to it. Anyways, that wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed that cartoon. Didn't like the Ewoks either. Never saw Adventures of the Gummy Bears.
Roy Clark. Yes, Roy Clark was a perennial on Hee-Haw.
A perennial on Hee-Haw.
Perennial. More than a perennial, a regular even.
Whoa, we got lots of comments here.
All good, I hope.
Yes.
Yes is a very positive comment.
Yes, love it.
My Bodyguard with Matt Dillon and Christopher Makepeace. Love that movie, by the way. Love that movie. In fact, here's a little trivia bit for you, a factoid. I've just spaced out. Really, really beautiful woman from. I'm drawing such a blank now.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this:
the
Baldwin guy on there played in Firefly, right?
He sure did.
Firefly.
He sure did.
Yes.
Firefly.
Yeah, I love that show.
I loved it too, but apparently no one else did.
Another movie that was influential on me as far as my martial arts were concerned, because you had a geek kid and a bully, and then at the end he fights him himself. Really good stuff. Hey to you.
Tracy, good to see you, Tracy.
Awesome. Thanks for slumming it with us over here on the Retro Serial channel. All right,
Mr. Collins,
go ahead.
You said that you're not very technical and need more help before you can do a live stream. Can't you do a live stream with a camera that you're using right now? Probably.
Let me step in here and say this too. Like there's because I'm really I'm learning all this as I'm going. That's why things are going so slow for me. When I first did this, I went out and I bought like all this equipment, like a new computer. I had everything. I didn't know how to use it. Like I seriously, there's this huge difference between like having the equipment and actually knowing the sequence, even the sequence of buttons or the sites you have to go to do this. One of the things that the reason I'm doing this right now is Dave helped me out so much. He called me and he walked me through like how to set this up and all this stuff. And then I just would watch YouTube videos. So it took me forever to be able to go from, you know, the videos that I was making at the very beginning, which was almost a year ago now, to the almost the mediocre do-it-yourself, the DIY kind of videos that I have now that are kind of okay. I think they're kind of okay, but you can tell I'm not a professional at the DIY. So there's a difference between like having the camera and stuff and then being able to actually do it. You know, I mean, seriously, it's very difficult. And I like for myself, and I can understand why Thrash needs the help on this, is I needed to actually be walked through it. I needed to be like, okay, you hit this button, you'll see this menu, you go to this site, and then you do this. And I didn't know how to do that until Dave showed me and until I watched some YouTube videos on my own. So he can do it. He just needs to know how. I don't know if you mind me speaking for you like that, Thrashpondo, but
No,
I understand.
that's fine. Yes, that's fine. I'm newer at this than you are. Also, I must confess, summers are a real busy time for me, so I don't have as much time to get tech savvy. I'm sure I probably could. It'll probably have to wait until, let's say, sometime this fall. But thank you
Yeah.
for your enthusiasm, John. I love the enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Thank you for your
totally love the
support.
enthusiasm, and
Thank you
thank
for
you
your
for your
support.
support. All right. Yeah.
Oh, and
But
Jennifer Beals was the name I was trying to think of. She was also in My Bodyguard because she was at the time romantically involved with Adam Baldwin. Little factoid for you.
all right, Time Bandits and the Black Hole, always
Oh,
on HBO in the 80s. Watch them a ton. Black Hole was an incredibly awesome show. So was Bandits. Both really, really good shows. By the way, that's the reason why I'm moving slow too on my channel. Like I just set up the Cornflake Club tier, as I mentioned on this, but like I just learned, and I think I was talking to you, Thrash, before the show started. I just learned right now how to make it to where I can make videos so I can send them to Patreon members only. I didn't know how to do that before. Like literally, I just learned it, and it takes time too. You know what I mean? It's like it takes some time to be able to do that. It's not just having the equipment, and it's not just having even somebody walk you through it, but it's just like, well, I've got a job, I have a ministry, I have my family, I have all this stuff going on for me. So it takes time, but I'm getting there, and I think Thrash is getting there too. Definitely a geek. All right.
thank you. Me too.
I don't know if you meant you or whoever all else, whatever. Yeah.
PBS aired Doc 2. It sure did. There was another channel in my area that briefly showed it for a while too. They didn't specialize in BBC entertainment, but aired a lot of it. So, but yeah, PBS was the best way to see, particularly the Tom Baker years.
Yeah. All
Mr.
right.
79 Man says, I
I
was
was
the
quite a
quiet
nerd.
nerd.
Oh, I was the quiet
Quiet
nerd.
nerd.
Good to hear. Me too, Thrash. Good. Okay. I started school in '79. So
You in
I don't
kindergarten
know.
79?
Yeah,
Wow.
kindergarten in '79.
I was
You're
in sixth grade.
Yeah, you were younger than me. I think in '79 I was in, no, I might have been in like first grade or second grade in '79. No, first grade. I don't know. I don't remember. I
Yeah,
might be your age. Your exact same age. All right, let's move some of threes. My year, James. Birth
birth
year.
year. Mr. 79 Man, of course.
Oh, oh, so
That,
you,
that, that would make
yeah,
sense, wouldn't it? Yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. Hi, Cindy. Well, I was born before '79. So
So, so was I.
you're a Xennial, actually, a Xennial. That they call those from '79 to '84 are as kind of an in between millennials and Xennials, or millennials and Generation X. So I'm gonna guess maybe Mr. 79 Man that that you're probably you probably identify more as a Gen Xer, given the fact that you're here and you're on, you listen to Dave Sundstrom stuff too. But I know that it goes both ways. I know that there are people who are born in that time frame that consider themselves more millennial, and people who consider themselves more Gen X. Do you consider yourself a Gen Xer?
Me?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, you're
I'm definitely Gen X.
Yeah, full force, full double feet in this camp. This is where I am. This is where I settle.
I remember when they coined the term Gen X, I'm like, that is the perfect name for my generation. It just sounded like something I would have named it. So yeah. Tales from the Dark Side. It's so funny you mentioned that, Mr. 79 Man. Not only is Tales from the Dark Side great, my go-to show that I loved that apparently no one else did, and this was actually before you were born, probably, or at least around there. There was a very short-lived anthology horror series. It was called The Dark Room, and it was hosted by James Colburn. And I loved the show. It was my answer to The Twilight Zone, and they canceled after about 6 episodes. And I'm still not quite over it. So,
yeah.
But yes,
I know that feeling.
Is a good one as well.
I know that feeling. Benny Hill, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Yes, that's one of they introduced me to was Monty Python's Flying Circus for sure. Sorry. Go ahead. I missed that one.
I also watched Prisoner Cell Block H from Australia. That was one of those women in prison shows. My mom won't let me watch it. Don't know why.
Well, we might know why now. I like the Ewok cartoon. Short-lived. Yes. Wasn't a fan.
Well, you were what, 7 or 8 when it came out? I was in college.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're 7 or 8 when it comes out, then it's okay. Even I think I was like 12 or 13 when it came out, so wasn't a big one for me. Taxi Cab Confessions, a good bad show. Yeah, very risque though. HBO show, adult in nature for sure. Yeah, very interesting show. I've seen a few episodes. I didn't watch it for very long, but yeah, a good bad show.
Oh, The Prisoner. I'm a huge The Prisoner fan. I didn't like the new incarnation, the one that came out about 10 years ago. I thought it was a darn fine attempt. Pardon me, a darn fine attempt, but it just didn't click. But the original I thought was excellent. We seem to be getting a lot into the English shows. I've noticed there are a lot of. Flashdance was the female. I believe you meant Thrash. Jennifer Beals. Oh yes, I thought I read that into the record. But yes, Jennifer Beals was the lady in question who had a small part, a supporting role in My Bodyguard, and she was involved to Adam Baldwin. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, we were having 2 different conversations going on at the time, so maybe that kind of fell through the cracks. James,
not easy doing live streams. I don't know if that's a question or if it's like a statement. Not sure. It could be either way. Not easy doing live streams? ? Actually, it's easy. Look, this is a Buddhist proverb. Here it is. All the answers are easy if you know them. All the answers. So, like, is it easy to do? Well, it might be easy, but if you don't know how, then you don't know how, and so that kind of makes it not easy. But it is pretty easy, and there are a lot of great tutorials out there on them. It's actually pretty easy to do. Look, I am a monkey, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. Seriously, somebody way smarter than I, like Thrashpondo Ponds, can do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. Really great stream. Thank you very much. I was blaming Thrash about the live. I wasn't.
Didn't think you were, John. No.
I hope we didn't come off that way at all.
No, and quite the opposite. I want to thank you for your enthusiasm and support. No one believes me for anything. I go to great lengths to make sure no one does. You can't prove nothing. Nobody saw nothing.
Okay, Rodney.
Close enough. James 328 says, high school in '79. You might be the first person on tonight's live stream who's older than me, because I didn't get to high school until '82. John Paul says, I enjoyed First and 10 on HBO. It had Delta Burke on it.
Never saw it.
Didn't have HBO.
Was that that was a sports movie? Was it?
Sounds like it. First and 10 is a football thing.
Yeah, I really didn't get into sports movies. A lot of my even the movies that were sports movies didn't really get into, other than like Rocky or something like that. If it had fighting in it, of course I love that, even if it's a sports movie. And Mr. 79 Man says, yes, I am Gen X all the way. Glad to have you on board. Glad both feet are planted firmly in Generation X. Born in 64. Born in 64. That's then you're barely in, but some people in the 64 category are actually called Generation Me, kind of like there's Zennials, and then there's the Me generation, because they were the first people to kind of, almost like the Alex P. Keatons. They were the rebellious ones against the former hippie generation, and they were the ones who were not saying you were, but there was a movement, and it even had music named after it called the Mod Movement, and it was like very anti-hippie, very much on making money. Basically Alex P. Keaton in that movie Greed and stuff, that was called Generation Me, very into new technology at the time. They would have been the ones carrying the big brick cell phones and stuff like that. It was a very, very big thing. That very first generation that broke away from the boomers are sometimes refer to themselves as the Me generation, but they're technically Generation X as well. So 64, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here.
67 here. So you beat me by 3 years.
Tracy, 67.
Oh, Tracy, same here. August 67.
August? I was born in August.
Oh, really? What day?
On a Tuesday.
But a bum. Generation.
What baby boomer generation? Glad to have you. One of the things about growing up Generation X, and I've talked about this with Dave especially, is that because Dave does a lot of shows about like boomer shows like Andy Griffith and stuff, Gilligan's Island, I was still watching all of that stuff. That affected us as Generation Xers for sure. So I mean, even though it wasn't on like live when I was a kid, I still remember watching Beverly Hillbillies and Andy Griffith and Gilligan's Island, all that stuff. Some stuff got a little obscure, late night on Nick at Night, like Hazel, stuff like that. My Three Sons didn't quite make the rounds for me, but a large majority of what you guys produced went right into this brain right here, buddy. All right, man. Let's see here.
Me too, Tracy. 67 was a good year. It sure was. Cindy D also goes on to say, my parents wouldn't let us watch Showtime at first. Who's racy movies? Yes, Showtime was a little on the more risque side when it first came out.
I remember when HBO came out, the big thing about HBO was they didn't play rated R movies before 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Remember that? I don't know if you remember that or not, but they made a big deal about that. They were like, no rated R. And then you had Showtime, but then you also had the Movie Channel. Remember the Movie Channel?
Vaguely.
That was they're actually still on the Movie Channel, but that was a side competitor of HBO, and they played bad movies during the day. I got to watch Beverly Hills Cop on the Movie Channel instead of watching it on waiting at night to watch it on HBO.
Good question.
Gotcha. All right.
Oh,
and Cinemax.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they're the worst.
Naughty.
Yeah, Cinemax was the worst. Yes, he owned a football team. Yes. Sounded like that was one of those shows. Go ahead.
I think I'll buy me a football team. Mr. 79 Man goes on to say, I liked HBO show Dream On. It was a little comedy meets casual sex. I wasn't supposed to watch it, but I liked it.
Uh,
I had friends who used to watch it, used to talk about it. Never actually saw it myself because, again, I didn't have HBO at the time.
wasn't the Quantum Leap guy in that show? The guy who played the lead in Quantum Leap?
Scott Bakula?
Yeah,
Was it him? Like I said, I didn't watch the show, so I'm not sure.
I
It could
don't
have
like
been.
it.
Could have been.
Gen
Gen
Xer,
Xer. Gen
glad to have
Xer.
you in the house. Danny Staten, born
Oh,
in
65.
65.
Someone
Gen
else who beats me.
Xer,
I'm
Gen
starting to feel young
Xer in the
again.
house.
Loved First and 10. It was a show on HBO. Yes, CNDD, it
Yes.
certainly was, yes.
What's
Don't
Dave's theme for Wednesday night? I don't know. He has not announced it yet. He hasn't sent me anything yet on it. I think from the poll, though, that he gave is going to be 1982. So that's kind of an interesting. It's not a movie or whatever, but he did this poll, and you guys out there may have seen it. It said, what year should I cover? It had a bunch of years on there, and 1982 was the year that I voted for, and it was the year that had the most traction on it as well. August here
Here
too,
too. Oh, there
79
were a lot of
man,
August
right on.
birthdays. Excellent.
All
June
right,
for me. Thank you, Tracy.
June. All right.
June, you're young and alive. James 328. 64 was the last year of the baby boomer generation. I always thought it was 62, but I will defer to you that it was 64.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. And of course, there's those bleed over sections. Like, we have now like I said, the 79 to 84 group can go either way. Some of them identify as Xers, some of them identify as millennials, and it really just has to do with how you identify. Uh, Cindy
February
D,
67.
right on. All right. I like
I like
Cinemax
Skinemax.
and AKA Cinemax. Yes, that was the way that we referred to it as well. All right, and John Collins asked, "Hey Ian, it's working, my friend. You're getting a crossover audience." Yes, right. I awesome. I think it is working, and thank you for being one of those people who listen to both. I mean, we're all a collection of people here, kind of interested in the same things, and I like this because it's growing organically and nobody's being harmed. That's the big. It's not like it used to be where if I wanted a slice of a pie, then your slice had to be smaller, or we just had to be happy with smaller um, pieces ourselves. But it's not like that anymore. I mean, really, the only slice of time that we have is time itself. We all have 24 hours in a day. So, yes, it is working, my friend. We are getting a crossover audience. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, Cindy D says, go ahead.
My mom hated us watching the. Oh, my glasses again. Oh, I did read that right. The orgasm scene when Harry met Sally. Laugh out loud. I thought I was misreading it. No, I read exactly what you wrote there. But yes, I remember that scene vividly. I don't
Yeah,
have what she's having.
yeah. That was Rob Reiner's mother, too, by the way.
It was. It was.
Uh,
He talked about things directing a woman to do an orgasm in front of your mother is something I highly recommend everyone does.
Right, right, right. That was a good show too. I think everyone liked that show. Those shows got a little bit corny though. The whole Boy Meets Girl, Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally. I have to admit that those are shows that I all really liked them. I think it kind of topped out with You've Got Mail. I think that was,
I
that
checked out
was
by them. My wife loves those shows. I kind of checked out by You've Got Mail. Never saw it,
right
but
on, right on. Well, are we? I think we're coming up on the. No, we're not. Are we coming up on the hour?
I think we just passed an hour. Believe it or not.
Oh yeah, we just passed an hour. So we're gonna wrap it up here real soon, and I'm gonna do some closing remarks. But stay with me, everyone. Please stay with me. Um, the Daily Dan blog says, I remember when we got cable for the first time I ever saw on HBO, The Island with Michael Caine, Off the Chain. Yeah, that was a good show. That was like the Island of Doctor Monroe kind of a thing.
Well, they were pirates. It
Oh,
was
were
a
they?
it was a clan of pirates that had been separated for like 200 years. They were still living as 18th century pirates in the 20th century. And it is off the chain, as you so aptly put it. Oh, and Tracy Roth Meyer says, I thought that it was Billy Crystal's mom. No, it was Rob Reiner's mother,
Yeah, it
actually.
was Rob Reiner's mother. Arthur, thanks, guys. Had fun. Hey, we had
We
fun
had fun having you.
having you
Thank
on.
you.
Before everybody leaves, let me just say this. Please do me the honor of subscribing to my channel. If you haven't already, you probably already subscribed. Like it. Now, if you've already subscribed and you like what we're doing here, the other thing you can do is go and pick one of your favorite videos that I do right after this thing ends, so you don't forget, and share it on your favorite social media. Let everybody know about the content. I just did one today about 3 movies that children were allowed to watch that probably shouldn't have been allowed to watch. So please go and share that on your favorite social media. If you really like what we're doing, you can go over to our Patreon page, where right now I've got 2 levels. I've got the Cornflake Club and the Tip Jar. You want to leave me some money over there, that's awesome. I just got actually my first Patreon. John Collins has become my first Patreon, and I wanted to say that before people started leaving the live stream. And if you need to leave the live stream, that's fine. I'll stick around. Thrash will stick around for a few more minutes, and we'll read some of these until, I don't know, things taper off. At some point, we got to say goodnight. It's my turn to put away the dishes, so eventually I'm going to have to go do that at some point. But I just wanted to say that before people leave. Share it. Please share it on your favorite social media. All right. Go ahead.
The Daily Dan blog states, modern day pirates. He knows the movie. Very impressive. Thank you. I ran a Suncoast video for 6 years. I am a movie buff from way, way back when. And Mr. 79 Man says, hit the like button. Yeah, smash that
Thank
like.
you.
I'm still going left to right instead of right to left.
Yeah, I know. I just said put it in the middle. Good
James
stream.
says, good stream. Have a great night, everyone.
Join
Smiley
us
face.
Thursday,
Yeah.
where we're talking about music on Thursday. Thursday, we'll be talking about music. And Tom Hanks turned down When Harry Met Sally. He didn't believe it was credible. Well, he made up for it, didn't he? In that other show that's like Harry Met Sally with the same actress. Oh, Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's the show I'm looking for. Tom Hanks
Has left the planet? Really?
I don't know.
Oh dear. My parents were messed up. I was 10. They took me to see The Exorcist, Deliverance, and Legend of Boggy Creek. Wow, great triple feature.
I know you mentioned that on my on the comment section. That's crazy. All right, everyone, I got to get going here. Thank you very much for joining us on today's program. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and go over to the Patreon page and help me build this YouTube empire. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Take care, everyone.
Ciao for now.